really important here.
Chairman Rogers, what are you looking for tonight?
Well, it's always interesting. Nobody in these primaries and presidential primaries loses. There's always the spin is, I came in 15th place, and I'm a winner.
It was a strong 15th.
Because nobody even thought I'd show up here and ride the bus. But I will tell you that one of the things that they're looking for is, how can I spin out of this to keep money alive for the next state? That's really what you're seeing. All these super PACs have changed the game politically in presidential primaries. Certainly I've learned that in this cycle, where you don't have to be #1 in Iowa and #1 in New Hampshire and everyone else goes away. They'll have enough money to keep playing to a longer-term strategy.
Do they need new money to get to South Carolina?
Yes, well,
I still think that wherever you end up here, do you end up in a position where you can make a pitch to your donors to keep you alive?
Right.
That's where this strategy isn't necessarily, even second or third place here is really important for them. But it's all about, can I spin this into the next state to survive one more state?
Which, Amanda, I mean,
One quick thing. I don't think it's the show. I think these voters in these early primary states, and I've been in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, take this very seriously. And I think that late break is they're still trying to determine which candidate fits the kind of America that I'm looking for. One thing we saw in Iowa, the candidates that did the best on national security scored exactly in the order of which they won. Trump, Cruz, and Rubio scored the highest of Republican voters in Iowa. Matter of fact, the candidate who had the weakest national security position was Rand Paul, the isolationist, and he felt he was the first one to fall out after Iowa. I think you're going to see a little bit of that issue focus for these voters. That's why I think it was 65%. They were looking for that one thing on an issue that made them comfortable.
And you think that issue was national security?
I think, well, the polling that we saw with the work that we were doing there was that national security was either #1 or #2. In every one of those early states.
Certainly among Republicans.
Not there is to take it into the House of Representatives for a vote. He's trying to deny enough delegates. He's talking about spending $1 billion. Name a state that he can win. He can't.
No.
But he can win some delegates. Can he win enough to deny a candidate the necessary delegates to get the nomination? If that happens, it happened in 1825, it goes into the House of Representatives and the Senate, one person, one vote. I think that's what Bloomberg's up to. I think that's what he's seriously considering,
so he wants a Republican,
which changes the game.
Yeah,
he should
I think that err on the side of Republicans.
I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but
in the presidential campaign, national security has been a major topic on the trail and at the debates. Let's go back to our panel, particularly Chairman Rogers. How seriously do you take the idea of a direct attack against the homeland? And what does that mean? That's beyond just people who are already here, correct?
Yeah, and if you look at what happened last year, 60 disruptions. So that means that there were 60 times that the U.S. government interceded in an operation at some level being carried out in the United States. 60, huge. That doesn't include, obviously, San Bernardino. That was a successful attack in the United States. So we knew that that was a brewing problem. To have both the DIA, General Stewart, and the DNI, the National Director, both confirmed today in as forceful terms as they have used about the possible attack tells me that there is operational phases that they're detecting out there. They call it chatter. So somebody overseas is talking about directly striking targets within the United States. That's beyond saying, I hope somebody does something in the United States.
But the question is then, does that mean ISIS personnel who are currently in the Middle East or elsewhere overseas coming to the United States, getting on a plane, carrying some sort of explosive device, or does it mean people, American citizens who are already here who are in contact with people who ISIS sent?
Probably means all of the above. So they will try to get operational cells to infiltrate the United States. And what worries me about how forceful they were, given the political debate surrounding the migrant issue, that they forcefully talked about the fact that they know ISIS was trying to infiltrate those migrant flows. And they're doing it with what they would call good paper, meaning they have mastered the ability to both steal and reproduce passports that look real, which gives people an unprecedented amount of freedom, including, by the way, travel to the United States.
Right. The idea, once obviously they're in Europe, it's a lot easier for people to travel to the United States.
To get here. And what it means, again, this is pretty forceful talk from two very senior intelligence officials you would not normally hear be as aggressive to say, we believe they will attack in the United States. Again, that's a pretty serious statement. That means they are likely to be something happening.
It also brings into relief what we saw prior to and what we learned after the attacks, most recent attacks in Paris, the Bataclan attacks and others. known operatives who were already on the European watch list were able to get from Syria back into Europe, even going into London and then later.
And they've also bragged that they can get into the United States. Now, certainly they haven't shown any real indicator they can do that. But what worries you is that we've seen them do it in Europe. They said they're going to do it. Now they're saying they're going to do it here. It's likely they have an opportunity to do it.
Let's go back to Wolf.